Although I've always danced culturally, Dominicans, I'm from Dominican Republic, for those who don't know. I was born and raised there, and then I moved to New York in 96 when I was about 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And culturally, we were dancing over there, merengue and bachata. Once I came to New York is when I had my first experience with salsa, but I didn't take it seriously. Went to the Navy. It was my only connection to my own culture because I was in other countries like Japan, Pakistan. And then that's what got me really hooked. And then when I came back to New York is when I went to a school here called Mambo Bravo in 2008.
Who was the director of that school?
That was Ruby Espinosa, who she had trained with Eddie Torres prior.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And would you say that Ruby was your biggest influence as you started learning?
Oh, absolutely. She was very encouraging, very positive. She would not get mad if we made mistakes in the rehearsals or whatever, and then she ended up
no push-ups from Ruby.
No, I actually, after I became part of one of the team members, I was making people drop whenever we made mistakes.
Okay, so
But
that's definitely a Franklin-inspired training technique.
Oh yeah, oh yes.
Okay, and was it through Ruby's company that you started competing?
No, through Ruby, I was exposed a lot through performances and teaching at the studio.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I met Anya Kasevman a couple of years down the road that she said you should get into competition, and I was completely against competition. Funny story, huh?
So how did you meet Anya?
I met Anya. Well, I've known of her through video, but I officially met her in Toronto, Canada, with Luis Aguilar at the time. She was partnered with him. And I was still dancing with Mambo Bravo, the company that I started here in New York. And I fell head over heel over her and him dancing.
Yeah.
And then when I came back to New York is when we connected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then what did she direct you into initially? Was it freestyle competition or choreography?
She just told me get into competition, whatever you want to do, whether that's going to be a solo or it's going to be pro-am or professional or whatever. So I started off with the professional with Lucia, who resides in Costa Rica.
You started competing in professional?
Yeah.
Man,
and you know, the thing about competition, it is very true. I'm not saying that to be cliche or anything. In competition, you're never going to be ready. You can spend a whole year rehearsing with your partner day in and day out, and I don't think you'll get to the point where you say, yeah, I'm ready. You always feel something is missing. And if you are one of those few exceptions that, yeah, you feel ready, then, you know, good for you. But once you say you'll never be ready, just go for it. That's all I needed.
Wow, okay.
And so we went there.
Straight into professional.
Yeah.
Man.
We went to Trinidad and Tobago. We were hired as artists to put on a show and to teach. And consequently, they had a competition. So we were competing against our own friends and the people from Trinidad and Tobago. Mm-hmm. And that first competition that I did with Lucia, we placed second.
Wow.
And to me, that was all the validation that I needed to keep going forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what I think is so impressive is that you maintain partnerships with dancers in different countries to your own, but then you're still goal orientated and you're still smashing goals with dancers that are, you know, a day's flight away or something like that.
Right. I think the reason behind that, it's not just because of me. I've been lucky enough to find all these women that are wonderful, super dedicated, with incredible work ethics. I cannot say anything negative about Lucia, Mari Yogo, or Josie, because those are the ones that I've sort of done professional competitions in, like known competitions, and all three have incredible work ethics. And at the end of the day, they take their dancing very seriously. So. We can always say or agree that we know what good dancing looks like. So because of that, I think is why we were all successful.
So your work ethic must be incredible, because like before, for example, like we've seen each other at the summit a few times like over the years, and you being in New York and Lucia being in Costa Rica, how much time together do you have before you put a routine together, before you compete?
Well, this one is going to scare a lot of people. The real answer, and I'm being 100% honest and genuine about this, Lucia and I see each other one day a year, and we don't rehearse. We go straight into the competition.
This is for your freestyle, stuff. And
Yeah.
how many times world champion are you now in freestyle?
With Lucia, I've won 6 or 7. With Mari, I got 1, and with Josie, I got another 1.
It's incredible. Like it's amazing. It obviously has a lot to do with your chemistry as dancers. So I don't think it will be possible for people that didn't have a good dance chemistry to be able to meet once a year, the day before a competition, and be able to deliver at the level that you're doing. But what about when you have a choreography with someone? How much time do you have to prep a choreography before you perform?
That also depends. If we know we don't have a lot of time, like I said, you're never ready. So we rehearse it as much as we can. For example, the one that you saw with me and Josie in Australia, the most recent one, that we ended up taking first with that choreography, we literally put that together in 7 days. And yes, we were stressed. Because at the end of the day, it's not so much the reputation, but for the lack of a better word, I'm going to use that word. She has a reputation to upkeep, and so do I. She runs the studio, and she cannot afford to go on any stage and look a mess, and neither can I. But I think relying on our training and experience really helped us push through the uncomfortable moment.
Definitely. And not only did you have you've got these routines where you're putting yourself out there as a professional, but you also have freestyle events, pro-am choreographies, teams, solo. It's not just one thing and then you go, oh yep, sweet, I'm done now. It's a whole weekend of work.
Absolutely. So tying back to what you asked earlier, as far as my students in other countries or other cities, for example, the ones in Japan, I usually go on average between 3 to 4 times a year to Japan on an average of 2 weeks. So the first 2 weeks that I go, I break down the entire choreography, which I'm usually making it as we go. It's not something that I pre-plan and I bring it with me. So that's all they learn, and I put no pressure on them, but I am very strict as to this is the correct timing and this is where you need to be at this point. Great. The second time around, I come back and we start cleaning and adding a little bit of styling. And the third time around, we usually perform it somewhere quickly. And I don't tell them that we're going to perform it. In fact, I come up to Japan, they think we're just having another rehearsal. And then I tell them, oh, by the way, in 5 days, we're performing this. And they're like, what? And because they have that drive and they don't have the luxury of really taking their time, I really have a lot of admiration and respect for my students, because it's not easy to have your partner little 10,000 kilometers away and only having on average 6 weeks to get ready. So we do that.
It's super high pressure scenario.
Absolutely. So then the plan is that we always want to arrive at the competition minimum 2 to 3 days before we actually have to compete. And then over the course of those days, we rehearse the choreography about a total of 3 hours with everybody combined. So I'll grab one, run the choreography, don't take a break, grab the other one, run that choreography, and so on and so on. And that also helps me with knowing that you can't just get used to this choreography. You got more coming up. So it takes a lot of focus.
Not only focus, but stamina. If you can't, I know Billy Fajardo is a massive advocate of this. He's like, if I see you huffing and puffing after your routine, I'm not a happy man. You need to be able to do that 10 times in a row before you're tired.
Well, Father Billy is a big influence as to how I approach dancing and presentation. His posture is very good. He respects the dance floor. He commands presence, and he really caters for his students. Because even on the earlier years when he was running the competitions, including IHSC, the International Hustle and Salsa competition, he would go out on the floor, being a judge, being an event organizer, and still competing with students. And you would never catch Billy running out of air.
Yeah.
So I said,
Yeah.
if that man can do it, and he's much older than I am, then
Hmm.
I can do it. And
Mm.
and what goes behind that is trying to eat healthy,
Hmm.
being hydrated, and not really consuming a lot of alcohol, and obviously no drugs.
Yep.
Yeah.
And have you noticed a change have you noticed a change in yourself since you transitioned to a vegetarian diet?
To be honest, no. I haven't had any fluctuation of energy, whether it's either up or down.
Yep.
Um, I never actually lost muscle weight.
Hmm.
Um, but I do feel better having made that decision.
Hmm.
And I enjoy food now more than I used to before.
That's a funny thing, hey, when
Yeah.
you remove some elements or some certain ingredients, it opens up more options for you in a way.
Yeah.
I found it really interesting as well. And you still feel like you feel good energy wise, like it hasn't affected your sleep or your performance or anything like this.
You saw me competing recently at the World Salsa Summit. I had
Hmm.
already gone vegetarian, and on Sunday alone, I danced 125 times, and I came out strong.
Yeah.
And prior
Oh,
to that, I danced another probably 100 times.
and that's in freestyle mainly, isn't it? Because in at the summit you have like so many different categories. Uh, we're not at that level yet, but you guys have so many more competitors in America. So you have like amateur beginner, amateur intermediate, amateur advanced, something like that.
Right. That
And
is
then it's
correct.
and then it's yeah, and then you have that, but then for above 30 or above 40 or above
Over 40 and
45 or
over
above
50.
yeah.
And then we have the quarterfinal, the semifinals, and the finals. So Sunday alone was a tough day, but I still did it, and I think a lot of it comes down to training at the gym,
Yeah.
the rehearsals. I don't go and take it easy. I actually go and work hard,
Mm.
eating healthy, staying hydrated, and keeping a positive attitude.
Do you do anything specifically in the gym to help with your dancing stamina?
So far with the stamina, no. I think I practice that on the actual rehearsals. But
Yeah.
as far as at the gym goes, I'm not the type of person who's gonna grab weights and do static exercises. I don't know if you know Daniel Enska. He used to
No.
be the one of the owners with Atoy at the time of Baila Society.
Hmm. Okay.
It was actually a very recognized and respected dance company here. And
Hmm.
his method of training is to use your body and always maximize the range of motion. So everything I do has to do with animal movements and just really body weight.
Mm.
And that
I remember
helps.
when we were training together at the gym in New York and you were doing like bear crawls and like, so
Right.
that was like your warm up. That was like all these functional exercises. And is that in an attempt to not compromise flexibility or function of the muscles?
It's really for mobility.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm gonna have to do the same exercise basically through a choreography or the same moves, and I want
Yeah.
to be able to do that without making it look like I'm putting an effort into it. The first one, even though it might not make sense, is getting to competition. And the reason behind that is that because you have a competition, let's say in 2 3 months or maybe longer, then you have no time to be fooling around, and that's gonna make you seek more help, either through private classes or through online classes or whatever way works for the person. They're gonna
Mm.
seek help from other professionals, and that's going to help them.